Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Holo's Delivery Brief. Sorry to have missed out on this last month, and thank you, Alistair, for carrying the torch. So, for those of you who haven't been to one of these, our delivery brief is a short format live stream. We do this every month to keep people apprised of our progress and to answer any questions that have come up. So, let's dive in. I'm Mary, I'm the executive director of Holo. And so we're going to start today talking a little bit of, well, just a little bit of reminder about how this all began. You know, Holo's mission has always been to build a distributed cloud infrastructure that puts data ownership and sovereignty firmly in the hands of users, not in giant tech platforms. So we've delivered foundational pieces like our cloud console, our public API. These things empower self-service onboarding, automation, and these are parts of the true digital sovereignty that with Holochain are bringing things to applications where people can have their data and manage it themselves. More recently, we've seen some early benefits of our new network architecture, our modular container first redesign. For some of those, so for some of you know it as Allograph. And this lets us host custom holochain versions, different versions of holochain, and eventually also non-holochain workloads. So every migration step that we're taking now directly carries forward that mission of flexible, values-driven hosting infrastructure powered by a global network of holoport hosts. So let's get into this. Where are we on the migration to Holo's new network and where things stand? So in March, we explained why we built the new network that we called Allograph, to shift away from some of the dependency cycles that were in the earlier version of the network, and also to offer the version flexibility. So one of the things in the old network is you couldn't, if apps were built on one version of Holochain, the network had to be on the same version of Holochain. And that was something that didn't give us the flexibility that was necessary, but also for workload flexible hosting on Holoports so that we could do other things. In our recent dev bites, which are available on the blog, we have demonstrated how the new network enables scalable modular deployments. I think there have been some demos that have gone out about that. And this basically lands the authenticated processes, expanding workloads and inventory, basically to orchestrate migration safely. One key milestone, the Hive app on cloud nodes plus with WebBridge. I don't know if you guys heard this one, but it was a 5 times reduction in page load times when we moved it from the old network to the new network. So this proves that our new network isn't just modular, it's actually a lot faster. So some of the things that we talk about in this delivery update are pretty techy, and some of the next sections are going to get more technical. So I know we get feedback on this all the time, right? Some people really like this, some people don't like it so much. So for those of you who are devs and engineers or other techie, this part's for you. And there's pieces of it along the way for everybody. So we have successfully migrated all of our internal holoports, learning a lot of the critical lessons along the way. I think we've said that before, but we also have invited a small host group to migrate previously. And when we did that, we hit a few different kinds of issues with the way that we were doing the migration and what we could see and how we could help people through things like ISP blocks or dynamic IPs, things like that. So now we're prioritizing a native SSH support on Holo's network. This is sort of a slow down to speed up later strategy. It's just that with SSH, troubleshooting becomes a lot smoother and reliable. And by the way, if this all sounds familiar, it's because we did have SSH built into one of the earlier layers of the network. It was a part of our network that we replaced that was also causing some instabilities, and the SSH was specifically not very reliable in that prior portion of the network. So this is making it work native for the whole new network. So while that's in progress, we've also built out a migration stack, and these are scripts, pre-migration state collection, holoport inventory tools, a lot of cross-version testing across NICs and NICs-OS environments, and all of these things are the fundamentals of how we deploy, how we update, and basically how we coordinate holochain running on holoports. So that if these things sound familiar, they should, because these are consistent with what we've been working on for years. So right now we have a queue of ready holoports waiting for migration, and as soon as the SSH is live, we're ready to go. So let's talk a little bit about automation and updates. We're also wrapping up the auto trigger update system for the network. So this is a way for the network to, when holoports complete a migration, they get seamless automated code updates going forward. This ensures that the network stays healthy, nimble, kind of consistent without a lot of manual updates and whatnot. There's just a quick note on Hyvelo. I know some questions have come in every month about this, so just to sort of handle it up front. We're a little bit in a holding pattern. I actually think we even mentioned this or talked about this in a previous live stream, either last month or the month before. Their upstream team from us hasn't prioritized some of the work that we need, so we're waiting on that. And we've moved that target from Q3 to Q4. So this shift may continue pending clarity on their timeline. This is not something in our control at this point. When it comes to static site hosting, which is something we've been talking about a little bit, this is enabling all the parts of Holochain apps and expanding into other hosting opportunities. We are officially working on static site hosting. This aligns with our mission to make Holochain hosting as simple as possible. For devs especially, but it also is about opening our infrastructure beyond to other types of hosting like personal blogs or general websites, or even just like the static content that's required in a holochain application. So like the UI and images and things like that. So in Q2, we scoped a spike. This is getting super technical with Squash FS. This is for efficient storage. Next up, we're building out a CLI uploader and a distributed blob store. I know that sounds like not a real technical term, but it is. And we're also getting the automation for SSL certificates for secure delivery. So these are some of the things that are now underway in this quarter. So the roadmap is basically reflecting the long held vision that enables static site and static content on a distributed network, on all of the individually operated holoports as being the foundation, right, for all the coordination after that. So really, this kind of wraps up the update part of what we're talking about. We're going from that modular network architecture to API-driven automation. We're broadening out hosting capabilities beyond Holochain. This all flows, like I said earlier, from our commitment to digital sovereignty, user choice, and resilient ethical cloud alternatives. So that's it. We've want to basically let's talk about questions. Let's move into the Q&A portion. All right. So there's a lot of questions that have come in, a bunch of different channels and all that different stuff. I know some folks are starting to ask questions also in the chat. We'll try to get to everything that I can. Let's see. I've got a very small screen today, so I'm sorting out how to be able to read the questions and see anything else that's coming in. So, okay, great. So there was first questions. I'm going to read two of them and then kind of answer them. So the first one's, when is static website hosting commercially or commonly available? And full feature release of static site hosting will be ready this quarter. Well, this is what we're working on. I don't know that we have a specific answer that it will absolutely be ready, but it is what we're working on. It is the next priority, but we have to do this in line with and balanced with moving holoports in and migrating holoports to sort of have that work together. Next one up, any USA exchange information, or is that just a silly question now? Okay, this one's interesting. So I don't think it's a silly question at all, but I will say this. 7 years ago or so, exchanges made it really clear what they wanted. They wanted you to pay for a listing, and the fees were exorbitant back then. Today, the interactions are a lot more hazy. I know we can hear different stories about what different projects go through or whatnot, but I think really what the regulations in most places are is they don't allow them to just say, hey, pay us this big fee like you did in the early days. But instead, what they do is they have all these hoops for projects to jump through. And a lot of these are really at odds with what a project sometimes needs or what they should be funding, with their treasury. And so this is part of what makes this a long, drawn out process, and one that has like little guarantee of the outcome. Like we don't really know. And I've been saying this for a while. I'm going to read a couple more questions because we had a whole bunch of a group of questions that came in about this. So I'm just going to read them and I'll try to kind of give a little bit of an update to them where I can. So when is the listing on USA exchanges like Coinbase? They said it would be taken care of in the future. That's not quite what we said, but I'll get to that. And you haven't heard anything about it yet, so please, when? Or the next one is, when did you file? Since you have no power over it, maybe we can estimate ourselves. Um, AI, for example, said that it could take up to 12 months for more complex projects listed. Well, I'm pretty certain that on two things here. One, we are one of the more complex projects, and then basically we've really said all along that the decisions of an exchange about what's listed and what they can put on there, it's not really in our control. These things that we prioritized it is what we said. That we were going to enter into conversations with them is what we've said, and we have done those things. But unfortunately, we can't guarantee what will happen or when, and so we just don't have any news to share specifically on the outcome of this at this point. So I don't have any yes or no. So let's keep going. Why is the roadmap not updated? Okay, well, we update our roadmap on the website about once a quarter, and we try to get that up to date with where things are in development and keep it coherent with some of the things we deliver in our briefs here, but it may not be up to date every single moment when people look at it. Is holo-fuel designed to be used for purchases, transactions other than host payments? For example, an online store or shopping that's created to use holo-fuel as the only accepted currency. I think this is a great question, but I think it's probably more suited for the unit team. I think they're holding AMAs from time to time now, and I know David Atkinson is popping into a lot of the Telegram channels. I know he answers questions like these up in there, so maybe that would be a better one to take there. I mean, we've said all along that it is something that will be primarily focused on hosting, but that could have general use. So as far as I know, there's no change to the general use side of it. But I would say as they're building the apps and demoing those apps and talking to people about it, they're really the source of truth for those kinds of questions right now. Okay, let's move. Next question. When will the website be available in multiple languages? Well, this has just not risen to a level of priority inside the organization right now, I'd say. So I don't have an answer really. What's the life on Hotcoin? Is it still used and will be the primary coin for holochain, holo ecosystem? I don't really know how to read we don't want to swap to, instead it should be the, not quite clear about the question here, but here's what I'll say about it. HOT is still our ESC20 token. It's being used right now. It's being accepted as payment on the Holo hosting network. And there still is a very much a plan for Holo Fuel being used on the Holo network and beyond. So at the point that there is a swap, there will be all the information about the swap. But at this point in time, I mean, what we've said in the past still stands unless anything shifts in the coming when we go to do that. So is HOT going to have other pairs added to the EU market? Currently, there are no USD pairs and just Turkish lira. Well, there are HOT and USDC are still a trading pair on Binance Global. And this serves international users, including residents of many European countries. So, you know, yes, there's a couple of things here. So when Mary states that exchanges decide on tokens, that's not exactly true. It is true. It's exactly true. Binance will work with devs to add trading pairs. So why has Mary not sorted out extra pairs on Binance? Just having Turkish lira is ridiculous. Well, here's the deal, guys. As of August 2025, Binance Global, this is where most of the liquidity for HOT lives, remains accessible to citizens of most European countries. And what they're available for is spot trading and related services. I am not sure what's being seen or who it's being seen by that would have the seeming be that it's just going to Turkish lira on Binance. That is not accurate. So if there's a different question in here, I welcome it, but I don't really understand the position at this point. Is the foundation or Holo team going to sort out liquidity on the L2? The 2000 pool was low and offers no real trading on that bridge. Well, The thing is here, I want to say, is the liquidity pool that we put out, and we talked about this, it was intentionally low. We weren't certain how much demand would be. We created this because of some demand that we experienced in our channels for um, layer two liquidity for certain trading, but it wasn't really clear how much. There also, as we communicated very early on, there are ways for people to contribute liquidity to that pool. So I think everybody's quite clear. We don't control the majority of the hot supply, and we never did. If you go all the way back to the ICO, you'll see from the inception of it, we never had majority control of hot from the moment of it coming into existence. So if the community is a demand for this kind of liquidity, there could be other community efforts to sort of put this in place. We were just intending to be an initiator on this and to make something sort of possible for people. I don't know what the demand is, so I'm not sure where the question's coming from. We don't get a lot of questions on this. So if there's something more explicit and something wanted, again, feel free to continue that outreach in the Telegram channel. What is going on with Holo Hosting Network? Any new customers? Is marketing plan to get any attention, extra attention? So I think Alistair answered this question last month's live stream, and I'm going to quote him explicitly here. And maybe we should pull a clip from that one and share it more widely. What he said was, currently, the products are geared specifically to Holochain ecosystem, which Holo already has a good connection to. Basically, we're in conversation, we're in connection with all those projects. So there hasn't been a good reason to go out and spend a bunch of money on promotion. But as we get into more mainstream products, yes, this is something that we are looking at. So I will just leave it at that and go to the next one. Okay. What is going on with Mary and Arthur? Mary has disappeared nearly 3 months and Arthur never speaks to anyone anymore, which causes anger as people have invested because of him. All right. Well, glad to say I'm here and I haven't disappeared. I was in our live stream in June. Alistair subbed for me in July when I was unavailable at the last minute, and I'm still here. So Arthur is at Unit. He's working hard to develop and deliver the decentralized accounting and mutual credit currency. So I think that this is a little bit unfounded. People come and go a bit on how they show up in social media, but we're here at the company and we're here speaking on behalf of the products and services that we're creating. So when Holoport owners can start hosting. So some holoports are hosting, and as we shared in the update today, more holoports will be migrated to the new network, and those will become ready for hosting. All right, let's keep moving. Great. How much are you paying Unit to deliver holofuel, and is this extraction registered somewhere? So holofuel is one of the things we said from the beginning that would be part of this journey. It's laid out in our use of funds and our green paper all the way going back. And so as we've shared throughout the years, and this last year especially, we are owned by the Holochain Foundation, and Unit is also fully owned by the foundation. So this was just a matter of separation of concerns for what's getting developed where, and to be able to move forward both types of development towards a delivery. So this is, I don't really understand the conversation about it. It's all still in the same structural ownership of the Holochain Foundation, which is a Gibraltar foundation run on behalf of the charter that was set up. Okay, great. How much money did we spend on the Holo website and who received that money? Don't you think it's way below industry standards, and how do you deal with this? Seriously? Um, has anybody seen the AWS homepage? I, that's not even relevant, but we paid for branding and we did the site internally with our team. And that's, the rest of it is just aesthetics and people can think what they think. All right. Can Holo provide storage for big files data, or what solution will be implemented to facilitate that? Well, what I was talking about around the blob storage is about that. When we talked about having the blob store that is specifically about files, image files, document files, those sorts of things. So it's to the level of how big, I don't have that answer here. It's something that we could probably bring back in a future conversation. We'll take a note on that, guys. All right. Will there be any official public holo showcase or test with some applications to third party to show general public how everything works and what are the possibilities? Well, here's the thing. Holo is building infrastructure that's used by developers, primarily. That's it. Like most of what we're doing is API based, it's automation based, it's tools for developers to host things that other people build. So we're not showcasing all of those things at this stage, and I think this is partially a little confusion about who does what in the different organizations. Holochain as the foundation and the kind of holder of the infrastructure for building applications, that's really where a lot of the app development and the support for developers building other apps are. And we're providing infrastructure to them for hosting. So I would say a lot of the things that might be being asked for of Holo may be something that should be taken to the foundation. So I will kind of, there's a couple of these things. We can pass these questions on. I know the foundation has started to do some live streams or um, some video events, and so maybe they can take a question like that. Great. Next question. Are there any plans to have a directory with dApps hosting on Holo? At this point, that's not something that we have on the current roadmap. Why have you limited your Twitter to private? Sorry, guys, I just did a security review on a bunch of my social media and I clicked something and it went to private. It was a recommendation. Um, the reality is I post on Twitter. I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter or X. Basically, that area has changed a lot over the course of the last 6 years. It's not my favorite social space to be on. I understand that a lot of you are out there on Twitter, but we're really using Telegram channel as the primary place we interact with the community. And we have lots of other people who are out on Twitter. And if something comes up, it usually gets directed to me anyway. So that's that's where it is. Why are the faces like Art, you and David all gone silent on social media? Basically, I'm here every month talking about where Holo is and what we're doing and giving our delivery brief. And this is the primary place that makes sense because this is where we talk to our community and the people that need to know. We're also talking to the projects that need to host, and that's what matters at this stage. So there's less and less viewers at every AMA. What are your thoughts on this? That is, I think during the pandemic, there were a lot of people spending a lot of time on AMAs, spending a lot of time following some of the projects. Um, I I get that there's fewer people in AMAs. I still think it gets out. Our views on them over time have stayed pretty consistent. So yeah, and I think that's the last question today. Hey, somebody likes the website. Nice. Thanks, guys. Um, I just want to appreciate everybody. I know a lot of the folks that come out and listen to the updates are people who are in our ecosystem, people who are building apps, people who are hosting, hosts who have holoports, and folks that have been following the project, hot holders, everybody. I get it. Some months we get lots of great questions that kind of give us an opportunity to talk about everything that's going great. Other months we get a lot of questions that dig into some of the administrivia and that sort of stuff. And this is where we answer those questions, all of them. And I appreciate them. And I appreciate all of you. So thanks so much. Y'all have a great day. Bye.